Hey everyone, so this is going to be a somewhat long / quick video. I'm going to try to go through it super fast, so try to keep up because I'm going to be going super speedy. There's a lot of things I need to go through. So for those of you that are in the Facebook group, you guys know that I held a little option poll type thing where I wanted to get your ideas on what you guys think would be some good improvements to the Summoner's War game. And of course, we made a pitch idea in the last time we did this, and I think we got a lot of good points forward. I don't know if they made their way up all the way up to the developers, but I do know we made a few suggestions that actually did get implemented into the game. So we're just going to go ahead and assume that that actually helped improve the game, and we're going to do another one in hope that this will have some items and suggestions that are actually added into the game. If you guys have any suggestion or idea that you agree with, or a unique one that you guys have that I didn't mention in this video, go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. I would love to hear what you guys think. Also, please get this out there. This isn't so much about me trying to make a video that's going to get views or ideas, blah, 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 blah. It's more about getting a lot of videos, or a lot of ideas out there to COM2US. So I want them to see this. So share it on Twitter, share it on the Facebook pages, post it on Reddit, all of that stuff. Let's get it out there. It's also going to be the comment section down below, so if you want your ideas mentioned out in a big way, this is the way to do it. You guys can make a response video as well. That would also be really cool. But let's get into it. Okay, so we're going to start from the top, and we're going to start with Arena / Guild War stuff. And the main thing that has been suggested, and it is all the time, in the Facebook poll, there was a lot of different people that kept suggesting this, and it is 1v1 fights. Now, I think they're already implementing something like this, but just in case that they aren't, this is something that I believe would launch Summoner's War in a huge scheme across all iOS stores, all the stores. It's so much good stuff will come from 1v1 battles. Now I'll explain why. So 1v1 has always been an aspect in games, and a lot of people love to have that kind of friendly competition, more or less. Now Arena has been something that has been actually quite immersive. A lot of players love that aspect of the game. I don't think Summoner's War would be as large without arena battles. As much as people hate it, they love it. So that being said, implementing a way where you don't have to rely on the RNG of your defense, violent runes and revenge runes and all that kind of stuff, having a way where it could be real-time battles with your friends and with other players across the world would be mind-blowing. And it would be so entertaining in a way where you would have to be super strategized, and you'd have to make sure everything was perfect, your attack order was perfect, and making a way that you could implement this where you could actually battle friends, your own friends and guildmates, to test defenses would open up a whole new world in Summoner's War, and I think that this is a great idea. So I just wanted to pitch it forward again and make sure that everyone knows that this is out there, and I really hope it gets implemented. Alright, so on to the next one. This was a little bit less suggested, but I definitely liked it. It was multiplayer PvP. So we already had guild battles. We had guilds implemented into the game early on, and then we finally were able to get guild wars where we had a purpose for guilds. What if there was a way to do a multiplayer type option with PvP battles? Not just 1v1s, but like 2v2, 3v3, or maybe you don't post in like 20 different monsters because there's 3 of you, but instead you're able to pick 2 monsters from each player, and you guys have to synergize super well to face another team. Now, this is something that would be pretty complicated, and I don't think it'd be added anytime soon, but it would be really interesting, and it would add more to that PvP aspect. And PvP, multiplayer type stuff, things where you're able to fight people in real time, and it focuses more on your improvement and on your strategy and your thinking in the game, has always been something that helps launch games massively. You look at like the Pokemon Online and stuff like that, that's what helped it a lot. The fact that you're able to, interact with so many other players in a real-time basis. So I think having multiplayer PvP would kind of touch in on that real-time PvP where you face people, actual people, not just the computer AI where it controls their defense. But let me know what you guys think on this one, because this one is a little bit more like it could go either way. Maybe it would help the gameplay, maybe it would ruin it. It's hard to tell, but it would be definitely something that'd be pretty interesting to think about. The next one is something that I don't know if it'll ever be added, but it's something that a lot of players definitely want, and that's Arena / Guild War defense replays. This has always been an interesting thing, and the fact that you get attacked so many times in defense would make it a little bit difficult, but there's only, I believe, 10. It's either 10, it's in the range from 10 to 15 logs of your defense, whether it failed or it succeeded. If there was an option to replay the actual battle full length, or maybe it would be sped up in a way where it would capture the image in an automated type thing. So maybe the person took 10 minutes worth because they were eating a sandwich and scratching their butt. But in real, when you do the replay, it's actually just showing it automated where it does all of the actions and it's super cut down and condensed so it doesn't take up a bunch of time and memory inside the game. You could also do that, but having that option next to the revenge button would allow you to see the player and their offense against you and kind of get an idea of why your defense failed, and if the player is higher leveled than you, or like they're a lot further in the game than you, their runes are better, or maybe you just had an unlucky streak or maybe a lucky streak. So that would always be an awesome addition to the game, just because it would help a lot of players able to improve themselves based on actual events in the game, but they're not able to view it so far. So how are they supposed to know, other than getting in touch with people that already attacked them outside of Summoner's War? So next idea is something I think that's already being implemented into the game, but just hasn't been announced yet, or maybe it has been announced and I haven't seen it, which is cross-server arena and Guild War fights. This is definitely something I can agree with. There's a good majority of players in Europe server, there's a lot in the Asia server, and then there's an enormous amount in global server. If there was a way to keep the ranks separate, so you could have all of your G3 players all in their respective servers, but were able to attack players, from global players are able to attack Asia server players are allowed to attack Europe and global server. Just having a little inter-server communication type thing where you're able to attack each other, not only in Guild Wars, but in arena fights, would be really interesting, because I feel like there's a little bit of a separation between servers. It almost feels like completely different games, completely different styles of gameplays, like different metas inside the game. Having all of that merged into one would be super interesting into the way that it works, because you'd have all of these different styles of gameplay coming together. So let me know what you guys think on that one, because that would be definitely interesting. I think they're already planning the cross-server arena one. Maybe it's just an idea, but the cross-server Guild Wars would also be pretty freaking awesome. One quick suggestion too. I don't think this is a huge problem, but it would be cool if you guys could look into the whole last minute using swords. Maybe that is part of the whole game where they're able to use their swords whenever they want. But I think it kind of defeats the purpose of guild battles when you're allowing players to use literally 4 swords on the very last day. Kind of cheating in my opinion, but maybe that's just me. Alright, on to the next section, which is PvE. So everyone loves PvE content, or maybe not, but I love PvE content, and it is what really got me hooked on the game in the first place. So there are a few nitpicky things that could be changed and improved upon. Let me know what you guys think. The first thing is definitely one that I've seen suggested, but it's one of my all-time favorites. Fix the boss animation kicking you from chat. There's so many times where you're in a you're in a Kairos dungeon and you're farming, and players that are a lot higher leveled or whatever, they'll have 1 minute to 2 minute teams, maybe less than 1 minute teams for essences and stuff like that, those magic calls, and it kicks them from chat every time in Kairos dungeons, and it can be pretty frustrating, and it's really bothersome. It's just a little bit of a nitpicky thing, and it kind of discourages players from chatting when they're farming, and that's kind of the whole point, having players being able to communicate. So that'd be definitely something that'd be really, really good to improve upon, is just having that boss animation not kick you out. And it's not impossible, because it doesn't kick you out in Trial of Ascension, it doesn't kick you out in arena fights, it doesn't kick you out in a lot of things. It really doesn't. So yeah, it's something that you guys could probably easily do, so that'd be really, really appreciated. Alright, on to the next one, more PvE guild fighting. So being able to do some kind of PvE style gameplay, but with your guildmates. So how there was Guild Wars, maybe add a PvE style type thing like that, but for the guild. It would encourage more guilds to kind of get together, make sure that they get really strong players, kind of help each other improve and encourage improvement in the game. That would be something to kind of think about, because branching out not only in PvP but also in PvE allows a lot of players to have more fun with the game and more diversity in the monsters that they build. I mean, we just recently saw Colleen get a huge boosts in approval because of Necro and in Rift. Now imagine if we were to include more PvE multiplayer type stuff, how many other monsters would get huge boosts in approval, and then there wouldn't be that huge unbalance between certain monsters and then the big majority of monsters which are unused. I think there's police outside. Oh, okay, and moving on. Rift improvements and additions. So I think it's really easy to see that Rift is a work in progress. You see all of those little dungeon boss dragon things on the main page of Rift. It's easy to see that they're far from done with it, and I do believe that they're going to have a lot of improvements planned for the future. But I think there's some improvements that could be actually made already for the current Rift little thing. And one of my suggestions, also suggested in the Facebook page, is allowing you to access your reward box in Rift, so that way you don't have to, get out, then you get your reward box, and then hop back in every single time. And it's a little bit of a frustrating thing. It's another nitpicky thing, but definitely something that is significant enough that it can annoy players. So something to think about as well. All right. My all-time, I'd have to say one of my all-time favorites for PvE as well. It improved world boss drop rates. God, this has kind of bothered me for a while now, and it's just the world boss drop rates as it is are pretty disappointing to say. Nonetheless, it's just every time you do a world boss, you get like I get an A+, an A-, and then a B- for all of my world boss drop rates when I do the world boss. Now, out of all of those, I'd say an A+ is a pretty good score. I mean, it's not the best, but out of all of those, the A+, the best item that I've gotten from drop rates was 5 legendary scroll pieces. Now, keep in mind that I do this 3 times a day, every single day since it started. 5 legendary scroll pieces, which you can get in your guild shop for 200 guild points. That's the equivalent of 200 guild points. Now, you'd probably think 5 legendary scroll pieces is quite fair, and that's pretty awesome, but the fact that it takes so long to get 5 legendary scroll pieces in World Boss compared to the short amount of time that it takes you to get it inside Guild Shop kind of shows the imbalance, and it's just a lot of mana stones and crystals. That's all it is. It would be cooler if the higher up you went, the further you went into the box, in the score, the further you get the rewards in the box. You get like 9 rewards instead of like 4 or 6 or whatever. Well, maybe those have a higher chance of dropping stuff. If they already do, it's hardly noticeable. It's seriously hardly noticeable, and it's kind of disappointing. But yeah, definitely I would say improvements on that would be very appreciated. And I love World Boss, one of the best additions to this game so far. It's definitely a great aspect where it allows players to build up a more diversity of monsters, encouraging players to build more monsters, not just super strong one set team, but having a very wide variety of choices. And also, quick thing, so far the World Boss is only water and fire attribute type. If you guys like change that up, that would also be really cool, because I think players are starting to kind of see into it, and there's players that shouldn't be getting as high up on the leaderboards but are, because they're specifically building just a ton of water monsters for World Boss. If you guys had it randomized in a way where it picked 2 random attributes, that would also be very interesting. Players would have to strategize a lot more if they wanted to get the top place for World Boss. Alright, moving on. Transmogrification stones. Yes. Transmogrification stones, since they were added, a lot of players had a big, giant thumbs up for this, and I definitely was one of them. I absolutely loved this transmogrification type idea, but of course, with every addition to the game, there is some bad things that come with it, and I think the main thing with this is that they're so freaking hard to get. I've been farming like crazy nonstop since this thing came out, right? And I've been seeing how many transmogrification stones I could get, and I think right now I'm currently at 32. Now, keep in mind that the transmogrification only works on one monster, if I'm correct. If I remember correctly, you can only do one monster type. You can only do like the Fire Rakshasa or like the Water Rakshasa. I think the Transmogrification pack allows you to do a full monster, like a full monster in all of the attributes. But a Transmogrification itself, the actual stones, I believe it only allows you to do that specific monster. Now, even if it is the entire attributes of that monster, I still think it takes far too long. I think I've been farming these Transmogrification stones for over 1 to 2 months. I don't know how long it's been since it came out, but since it came out, I've been farming nonstop for runes, and that's mainly where it drops. So yeah, I don't think you guys should increase the drop rates. I don't think you guys should increase the drop rates whatsoever for the Transmogrification stones, mainly because when they drop, they're so rare that it's like the best thing ever when you get them, right? And it's so relieving to see that you got them. But it's a little bit too far-fetched that you have to get 100 of them to do the Transmogrification. I think having it more at like 50 would make more sense, and it'd be a lot better for the game, because waiting an entire like 7 months to do one monster Transmogrification, like, that is way too much. And I know you guys want to encourage players to get the Transmogrification pack. I get that. A lot of revenue comes from in-app purchases, but the fact that it takes months to get one Transmogrification, it's too much. That's way too much. And I think a lot of players have completely shrugged off the Transmog stones, because it's so far-fetched that 100 Transmog stones for just like the one monster, it's way too much. But that's something that I think a lot of players have kind of just shrugged off, because they know they're never going to get the Transmog stuff finished. Not for a long time. So it's more of like a side project for a lot of people. Alright, lastly, to top off the PvE suggestions was storage to world boss. A lot of players have to go into their storage and pull out monsters specifically for world boss and then put them in. If there was a way to have both your monster box and your storage box all combined when you get to the world boss option, I think a lot of players would appreciate that as well. That way you don't have to specifically pull monsters out of your storage and then put them back in every single time you want to do world boss, which is every day, you know, mostly every day, 3 times a day. So just one thing to keep in mind if you guys want to improve the world boss a little bit, that would definitely help. Alright, now we're moving on to some general improvements that definitely caught my eye, and some of them are also some suggestions from myself, yours truly, Reafi. Alright, first on the list was actually a very huge one. A big shout out to whoever suggested this. I forgot the name, I'm sorry. I should have been more prepared when I pulled this up. But monster scroll bar customization. So when you guys go into arena or guild battles, do you see that little monster scroll bar that you choose from? How many of you get so frustrated the fact that you have to scroll all the way left, all the way right, all the way back left again? Oh, no, you accidentally unselect a monster, all the way back right again, just to get your team situated for the specific fight. Whether it be arena, whether it be in Kairos, whether it be in Trial of Ascension. How convenient would it be if we were allowed to customize it, like you can unlock the bar, put all of your monsters in a specific order, then lock the bar back down, and then that way it's locked for good. And that would allow players to put the monsters in the order that they want them to, because currently it's not organized in any way that's recognizable, okay? Just keep this in mind, alright? You go into the bar, and it's not organized by attribute. It's not really organized by level. The only thing that is actually somewhat recognizable is that it's organized from 6-star down to 1-star in levels. But as far as attributes go, it's completely unrecognizable. It's not even organized in a way where it's like the 6-star monster that you order. How should I say it? It's not even ordered in a way where you 6-starred a monster in a specific order. So say you 6-starred the Shiho first, and then you 6-starred Rakan. Rakan actually might be before Shiho on the monster scroll bar. It's completely unrecognizable. So having that customization where you can move monsters around on your scroll bar, having your arena team closer together, your guild war team closer together, and all of the other stuff, of course, that would be a huge addition to the game. Again, adding more on the customization that Summoner's War has. Next one is increasing light and dark gameplay. One thing I've noticed is that there's not a lot of light and dark gameplay in Summoner's War, mostly just farmable monsters, and that's why mostly when you get up to those very big whales in Arena and Guild War that actually spend thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands on this game, which is understandable, but I think adding another attribute like the shadow attribute or like the neutral attribute that you guys had in the scenario mode, having that be the super rare one would make a lot more sense, because you would allow the light and darks to be a kind of a semi-rare one, because as it is, the light and dark monsters, a lot of the natural 5 stars and 4 stars are pretty useless. And the fact that that happens more on the fact that no one has the monsters to complain about them for them to be noticed and then improved kind of shows that no one gets them. No one really gets them unless they really pay a lot of money. And the small, very, very, very small minority that do get them and are free to play, it's so insignificant that you can almost ignore it. So having a little bit more options with light and dark monsters, and maybe adding another attribute that would be even more rare than the light and darks, would encourage players to still spend and get those rare attribute types, but it would also have a more semi-rare attribute that players could work towards, because as it is, light and dark monsters are almost kind of unprecedented. No one expects them, no one really plans for them, because no one ever really expects to summon them because they're so rare. But again, touching back on the rare thing, having things so rare that you're probably never going to obtain them doesn't make them that much more special. It just makes it that much more disappointing when you know that you will never get it. So, alright, moving on. Unknown scrolls. Oh, don't even get me started on unknown scrolls. This is a thing that I kind of thought up in the last time I did an idea pitch, but it didn't get implemented, and I kind of want to see it implemented, so I'm going to suggest it again. I improved and touched upon the idea, so hopefully this sounds better second time around. So, unknown scrolls, everyone has them. My farmer Phil had hundreds of them, and he only played for about 2 weeks in game time. I was hopping it on and off the account. I was inactive for a little short period of time. So about 2 weeks full time of Farmer Phil, and I had hundreds of unknown scrolls. My main account has over 12,000, climbing up to 13,000 now. I know players that have 20, 30,000 unknown scrolls. It's crazy. Okay, so maybe not have a little trade-in system where you can trade in 100 scrolls for a mystical scroll. That would be cool, but then you would be giving hundreds of mystical scrolls to individual players, which might make a huge leap in summons, which would be bad for the business, okay? What if you guys put in a secondary shop system? So you go outside of that little marketplace, that shop, and you add in a secondary shop where you can purchase items with unknown scrolls. Purchasing stuff like essences with unknown scrolls, purchasing stuff like mystical scrolls with unknown scrolls, legendary scroll pieces with unknown scrolls, or even light and dark scroll pieces, or even transmog stones. Stuff like that. Adding a secondary shop with more rare items with unknown scrolls, or even a more like a trade-in value for a higher currency than just mana stones, like having a more top tier shop in a way. Just doing something with the unknown scrolls that we can actually use them, because as they are, they're just a huge inconvenience, and getting unknown scroll drop is awful in the Kairos dungeons. Like, they absolutely do nothing for you, and they just take up a big giant spot on your space for your unknown scrolls. That's it. Alright, next one is Essence Diffusion. A lot of players want to see this. They want to be able to take in high essences and break them down into like 10 mid essence, taking one mid essence and breaking it down into 10 low essences. Not much to explain about that. It's pretty straightforward. You guys can fuse up, but you can't fuse down, or defuse down, I should say. So being able to go both ways, I think you guys have already planned it but haven't implemented it yet. I think implementing it as soon as possible would actually make a lot of players happy. So that'd be something to consider in the next update as well, or in the next few updates, because it's definitely something that can annoy a lot of mid-game players when they have to farm a lot of essences, and for the pay-to-play players as well when they summon so many monsters but can't awaken them. Having that kind of option would encourage a lot of players as well to spend their crystals and mana stones on that kind of stuff outside of just upgrading runes. So, yeah. Alright. Another really highly suggestion, better rune organization. Oh, this was a huge one. Making sure that you can have better rune organization was such a big suggestion in the Facebook page that I think I had like many separate people asking for it. So, better rune organization, what I mean by this is having more tabs for specific types of runes. Like you could have like a search bar where you go search for a specific type of rune, like a slot 2 with this type of thing, blah, 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 blah. Or having better organization for the runes within, where you could pop up all of the 1-star runes, all of the 2-star runes type thing. Or just having a way where you could not have a big jumbled mess inside your thing, because as it is a little bit of a mess. It's a lot more organized now that it has 500 slots. Big improvement. Maybe increasing that even more would be pretty nice, but having a way to organize it and search for specific rune spots would also be pretty cool. And as it is, people are reaching out to outside sources like Rune Organization, or I think Rune Optimizer. People are already searching outside the game, so making sure that you can implement it inside the game would only encourage players to use the in-game resources. All right. One of my big pet peeves is actually the accuracy to resistance rates. I don't know if a lot of players would agree with me on this, but as you're watching the footage that I have currently running on the video, if you didn't notice, I'm missing a lot of defense break on Galleon. Well, you're probably sitting there like, oh, he probably doesn't have maxed accuracy. He has 100% accuracy. 100% accuracy. Notice how many times he misses that defense break. All the time. And he's max skilled, 100% accuracy, as maxed out as you can possibly get him. He is absolutely maxed out on landing that defense break. That is the most he can possibly have for a chance to land defense break. And he still misses it. Still misses it like crazy. So having a better accuracy to resistance ratio would be very appreciated. It would touch back on that whole RNG thing. No one likes to, lose to RNG. I mentioned it a few times in my previous videos. Everyone hates losing to RNG. It just makes you feel like absolute crap. So fixing that in a way where, it encourages you to build 100% accuracy and 100% resistance monsters. So maybe having like bonuses for reaching 100% of crit rate, accuracy, not really crit damage, but having maxed out stats on a specific one of those percents would encourage you to reach that by having a bonus. So like 100% resistance has certain properties where you get bonuses, or 100% accuracy has a higher chance to land it than just 100%. Because as it is, the 15% built-in resistance is absolutely bullshit in the way it feels more like a 50-50 chance. And you see all these things where I'm missing like freaking crazy. And a lot of these monsters don't even have high resistance. They're just getting lucky. So something to think about, please. Alright, these last two things are kind of together, more or less. It deals more with Hive, because I think Hive has been an ongoing issue in the way it's been designed. I think it's been a little, not exactly poorly designed, but not designed in a way that's best customer friendly or user friendly. So first off, private messages. You can message in Hive, but I think it's not enough. No one uses Hive. No one goes into the Hive to like add friends to their circle, or I think that's Google+, but anyways, no one uses Hive other than to log into the page. And I think it'd be a lot better to have some kind of messaging option for players in-game. So like a way that you can message players, private messages, in-game, and then ask them questions, or maybe be like, oh, go to this channel, could you look at my thing, like my monster box, or help me out, or talk to players across channels. That would be something to kind of think about. Also, it'd be cool if you could add an option for that where you could only accept messages from like friends or stuff like that, because I know a lot of players that are up there in arena, like number 1 to like number 100. A lot of those players would probably get messages, or famous YouTube and streamers, they probably get a lot of messages. Just having a way to help not get spammed, including all of the other players and channels that might get a lot of recognition in terms of that, or might get bullied in that sense from messages. So having a way to block player messages for good, and also block messages for players you don't recognize or don't have on friends list or guild and stuff like that, that'd be cool too. And lastly, the number one thing, if you guys had to ignore all of the points that I put in except for one, this would be the one that I would personally choose, because I think this is an issue that actually makes a lot of players quit the game and get very frustrated, and that is a better login page. As it is, there's a lot of fake websites out there that steal login information, and yes, it does boil down to how gullible a person can be. You got to look at the URL before you give away your Hive login info, But the thing is, COM2US never asks for the login info, but I don't think COM2US stresses this enough, and a lot of players have lost their accounts. Out of all of the players I've ever talked to and all of the friends that I've made on Summoner's War, I've seen in the double digits lose their accounts to hackers. I've also been accused of stealing an account before, but I think this boils down more towards players not having extra security on their accounts. So this is a huge one, and it's a very easy fix, and I'm very surprised. I'm appalled that this has not been kind of attended to more. All you have to do, if you guys need an idea on how to improve it, all you have to do is add an email confirmation or phone text confirmation for any changes in the settings. So if someone wants to change the Hive ID and the password and the email, they have to go to the source email that it's currently listed on, and they have to send some kind of email that sends a code or like a little link that authorizes, that says, yeah, thumbs up, you're good to go. But they have to go into the email that the account is associated with, and they have to confirm it. Be like, yes, I want these account detail changes. And having that would make it so players don't actually steal accounts. Because what a player gets the login information, great, they log in. How are they going to change the information? They don't have the email. They'd have to hack the email as well. Easy solution. And I feel like that would be a very, very easy implementation into the game. And the fact that it has not been fixed yet is kind of upsetting, but hopefully you guys address this, because I've seen so many players lose their accounts, and it does actually affect me in a way, because I think it's pretty sad when there's a big trust issue from player to other players and websites and stuff like that. So having more customer support with that as well. I know COM2US doesn't have the customer support where they actually help players. I probably shouldn't say this, but there's been issues with customer support and players losing their accounts in a way where they assume it automatically is the player's fault. And I think this more is an issue with the fact that they don't want to encourage players to give out their account information. They want players to see in every possible way that you do not give your account information out, and they have no responsibility or liability on this issue. But having that little extra security detail would save them a lot of time and energy, and they would get far less emails on the matter. So just a thing to think about and implement into the game, please. Please, 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 from my behalf and all of the previous players that have lost their accounts. If not, don't do it for me, do it for them, because there's been lots of players that have quit because they lost their account. So, alright guys, those are my those are the best suggestions that I got on my Facebook page. If you guys agree with them, let me know in the comments. I will have, let me know what your favorite idea is. Post it down below, and I'll go ahead and see what that is. If I didn't mention an idea that you guys had, or that you think is better, or if you guys want to improve on one of the ideas I have in the video, then post it down in the comment section below. Let me know what you think, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Alright, see you, awesome.